Hi, I'm Gavin,
And I'm Dave.
and you're on the fringe.
Come along with us for a ride on a podcast where we talk about an area or a thing going on in the world that needs more attention, just like you do. Let's go.
On the fringe. Here we go. Hey, 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 welcome to On the Fringe. I'm Gavin. I'm here with my good friend Dave. Today, we are talking about something, some place, an issue that we have returned to time and time again because it is important and because it is happening now. We're talking once again about the situation out in Kivu in the east of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where Rwandan backed forces led by M23 continue advancing to the north and to the south, taking more and more territory linked to cobalt and tantalum mines that control rare earth mineral deposits. So, uh, we're going to catch you up on the situation today.
Yep, there was a lot going on, and there was a warning recently from the UN where Antonio Guterres was basically warning that this is going to turn into a larger regional war, not just a conflict. It's going to turn into a full-scale war, and the UN's been pushing for a ceasefire for the last few days. They're starting to push harder. The AU, the African Union, has not really been able to do much, and Rwanda has even said for the last month that they've wanted a ceasefire. But you'll be able to understand why, and probably if they're wanting a ceasefire, that means they're going to get to write the terms of the ceasefire. And for them, this is looking more and more like it's a huge payday. And for everyone else in the region, this is a huge, tremendous loss, especially for the civilian populations in the DRC. Wouldn't you say, Gavin?
I would say so, Dave. I think that's very concisely put. Um, of course, one of the stumbling blocks in the negotiations is Rwanda keeps insisting that M23, the rebel group that has been the spearhead of all of this, they have to have a seat at the negotiating table. The Congolese government, led by Felix Tshisekedi in Kinshasa, claims that they will not meet with M23 because M23 is not a state. M23 is not a state level government. M23, as far as the Congolese government is concerned, is a military, puppet paramilitary. Try saying that 5 times fast. A puppet paramilitary aligned with Rwandan financial and political interests, and not someone that they can negotiate with. Basically, they're saying we're not going to walk into a conference room where it's two against one. No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And
and
oh,
sorry, go ahead, Dave.
no, go for it. Our connection's not that great tonight. Jump on in there.
The beauty of Indonesian internet. Um, so no, so this is also part of the dynamics in Kinshasa at the moment. Is that increasingly Felix Tshisekedi, the current president of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, he is seen as a vulnerable, weak political figure. His standing has been massively diminished. He's increasingly viewed as impotent, incompetent, and just plain not very good at his job. And more people involved in politics in Kinshasa are saying this. He seems unable to bring about any kind of resolution. Uh, his vaunted military solution for East Congo is in tatters. It's been completely destroyed. Um, Basically, he's unable to really instill any kind of command and control over the FARDC or the Federal Army of the Republic, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The acronym's French. in the east of the country, and it's not looking good for him.
It, it's
I
it's really not.
It's
And
really not. Yeah.
this is a guy. This is a guy last year that survived a quote attempted coup attempt
Hmm.
where these guys showed up at the presidential palace, and there was a guy from Utah, a Congolese naturalized U.S. citizen, who showed up from Utah with a couple of kids and a few ragtag guys that he recruited, and they basically showed up right at the palace grounds. They took it over for about 20 or 25 minutes. And I mean, this guy had very little security at his presidential palace. And you can imagine, okay, this is in the capital city of Kinshasa. Over in
Yeah.
the eastern part of the DRC, where this conflict is really going on, they probably have zero control. And Gavin and I were just talking about this. You've had local police officers and soldiers basically laying down their weapons to M23 and switching over and going like, yeah, we're going to actually fight against the president and fight over basically fight against the country that we signed up to support because they're not taking care of us, they're not paying us, that they're not keeping their end of the bargain. So this is not a good situation for the DRC, and this could potentially fall apart very, very quickly.
I think we're past the potentially stage, to be honest. Part of the issue, and talking about the soldiers laying down weapons, part of the issue was particularly after the fall of Bukavu, but even after Goma, you were hearing this. Uh, there was just a total retreat of the army, of the DRC's armed forces. There was a total retreat. There was no tactical withdrawal, regrouping of forces. There's just been a massive retreat. And most of the fighting the Congolese army has seen in the last couple of days has actually been with local paramilitaries that they set up to deal with the Rwandans because the government was aware that their command and control of the armed forces was so bad. They set up local paramilitaries called the Wazalendu, who were basically local tribesmen who'd been given weapons, who'd been given some rudimentary training. I think a lot of them were probably bush hunters, who were basically formed into paramilitaries and told to fight for their land. They're still fighting for their land, but they're also fighting against the armed forces they were fighting with and taking their weapons to actually try to resist the Rwandans because the Congolese soldiers are not doing this.
Man, this is just falling apart quickly. It's almost like they've fallen off the cliff and they haven't hit the ground yet.
Yeah, it's a Wile E. Coyote type situation. They're looking down and they're going, "Uh-oh, gravity." And they're rapidly approaching the dry riverbed as we speak. And again, this is a total disaster. There's been a complete breakdown of any kind of public healthcare system. So they're having outbreaks of basically every major infectious disease you can imagine. That's not a part of the world that's blessed in that respect. They're having just massive influxes of people leaving the region, which is overburdening the healthcare system basically throughout the entire country, but also throughout the entire region because they're going into Malawi, they're going into Burundi, they're going into Tanzania, they're going everywhere.
Hmm.
People do not want to be there when M23 rolls into town. We're talking about massive human rights abuses, just really ugly, nasty stuff going on. And
And
there doesn't seem to be any end in sight.
no, this has been going on since the 90s,
Yeah.
where there was a genocide in neighboring Rwanda, and there were a couple civil wars in Congo. This has never quieted down. So this has been going on pretty much for my whole existence, and it's not going to quiet down. And you just feel really, really terrible for these people. And people are going to get very desperate. They're going to start going across international borders, and we're probably not going to hear much about this in the States, but this is going to have huge effects on the way
Everything.
that we can get rare earth minerals and the way that our electronics are produced and trade policies and everything that we've come to know and love in the last 5 years due to changes in technology.
It's going to affect technology. It's really going to affect people. Um, this is going to create massive refugee crises that will not immediately directly affect Western countries, but it's going to have huge knock-on effects because the neighborhood is not stable as is. When you look at the countries that border the Democratic Republic of the Congo, you're looking at the Central African Republic, you're looking at South Sudan, you're looking at Uganda, Burundi, Malawi, Zambia. Sorry, Malawi doesn't have a direct border, but they
Mm.
are close. Angola,
Plus Kenya and Tanzania as well.
which are comparatively stable, but have problems certainly that are
Kenya's
not
got
to be
some
helped,
Kenya's got
that
some
are not,
problems.
everybody's got some problems. Uh, the
Even me.
Republic of the Congo as well, the Republic of the Congo, they're right there. If Kinshasa, God forbid, blows up, they're right across the river. So, I mean, you're looking at a very volatile region and a country that looks like it's right it's right about to break down. Unless there is an immediate ceasefire, I would say unless there's an immediate ceasefire, the future does not look good for the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Well, I would even think if there is a ceasefire, because the Rwandans are not going to give up any of the territory or the cities that they've taken. I mean, they've basically taken over control over Lake Kivu. I mean, that's key terrain for the whole entire Great Lakes region, and
Yeah,
also the city of Goma and Bukavu as well. They're not going to take any of that away, and they're not going
no,
to give any of that. They're not. I should say they're not going to give any of that away. They're going to take
no.
every single gain that they've gotten.
And the territory that Uganda has started seizing along their border, that's not going back either. And I think what is troubling people, and we've talked about it on here before, is previously, I mean, everyone knew there were Ugandan soldiers in the DRC. Everyone knew there were Rwandan soldiers in the DRC. The difference now is it feels like there's nothing stopping Kagame from going, those borders we used to have? We don't have them anymore. These are the new borders. And there's nothing really to stop him from doing that. There's no uh, international peacekeeping force that's going to come in. There's no major political actor that's going to airdrop people into the region. Um, the US, we have introduced some minor sanctions against people in the Rwandan military. They're minor sanctions. They're symbolic, but they're not significant. And to a degree, I don't think Western countries can really afford to alienate Paul Kagame uh, because Western countries have invested way too much in that regime to turn around and go, we're not dealing with you anymore, particularly when he's about to be in control of the largest deposit of rare earth minerals on the face of the planet. And considering the contortions that American foreign policy is going through in other parts of the world that are rumored to have rare earth minerals, I just don't see it happening. So I think, this is Paul Kagame unleashed, and we don't know when enough is enough.
And I think that the only person that knows what enough is Paul Kagame himself.
Yeah,
And
he ain't talking.
he's going to go as far as he can and stretch that limit as far as he can based on his personal history, based on his ideology, and based on how he sees the world. And right now, there's nothing that's going to stop him.
No.
And you look at the DRC and you look at the situation of the DRC, you know, ever since it was colonized by the Belgians.
Mm.
And okay, it was a huge country that was basically, you know, there were lines drawn on the map when it was formed. And he's looking at it from that same perspective and going, okay, these were just lines drawn on a map.
Mm. Yeah.
They're completely arbitrary. So why can't we just redraw those? Because those lines were never correct in the first place. I'm just going to make some small corrections and we're going to fix the problem. We're going to stabilize it. And there's probably people in, I would think in DC and London and probably in Beijing and Seoul and other major capitals that are probably taking a step back and going, okay, we're going to sit back and see what he actually does. And if he's able to stabilize the region and we're able to actually keep a supply of rare earth minerals going to the global stage and, you know, through trade, okay, that works. So we have one less thing to worry about. I honestly look at that and go, this is going to be one of the most critical parts of the world in the next 15 years, just because of the amount of rare earth minerals and metals here that the world is going to need to function.
Yeah. 100%. And this you just hit the nail on the head. This is not going away. This is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger uh the longer it goes on, and it's going to keep going on for a while
Mm-hmm.
because this region is not going to magically become less important overnight. And in the meantime, as AI heats up, this becomes more and more important to more and more people. So, yeah, this is just a critical, I would say it's a critical moment in history in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it really is. And I mean you go back and you look at other inventions, you know, in the late 20th or I guess you could say late 19th century, 20th century, and okay, we've had oil. Oil was very, very important to the growth of the world in the 20th century. Rare earth
Mm.
minerals might be the oil of the 21st century. And Paul Kagame may be looking at this and going, okay, well, oil changed the Middle East. Rare earth minerals are going to change Africa. And I want to be in control of that.
I want to be Saudi Arabia. I think
Yep.
that's what he's thinking.
Yep. Yep. He
Uh,
very well might be.
So, on that note, thank you so much. Thank you to our new subscribers for joining us. Please like, comment. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. We'd appreciate it very much over here at On the Fringe. And thank you for listening. This is On the Fringe.
Thanks, y'all. Take care.